This is a review of the Canon G7X Mark III. Today's date is February 26, 2020. This review is to see how the autofocus performs on the Canon G7X Mark III. I do have the latest firmware update installed. Everything is set to automatic on this part of the test to see how the camera performs without my doing anything to it. I'm using the built-in microphone of the camera, and again, I'm trying to see how the camera performs. So the Canon G7X Mark III I purchased when the camera first came out and did not keep it very long. The autofocus was atrocious and the camera became very frustrating to me. I went ahead and purchased it the second time after the firmware update to fix the autofocus issue was announced, and I did go ahead and install the autofocus firmware update, but was not thoroughly impressed with the camera. I believe that perhaps I didn't keep it long enough to really give it an opportunity, and I do have now the second and the latest software update installed on the Canon G7X Mark III. That one wasn't particularly to update the autofocus. It was actually about changing the names to the new two focus options that are available on the camera, and also to add the 24 frames for video recording. So the autofocus was definitely seemed like it was worse than even its predecessor, the G7X Mark II. I'm assuming that what happened is when Canon upgraded to this sensor, which seems to be a Sony sensor, perhaps it just didn't play well with the autofocus system. I considered the Sony RX100 Mark VII, but $500 price difference is just not something I wanted to do. And also, you know, these camera makers, I don't get it. I mean, it's like they give you things on one side and then they take away from another. The ND filter, I think, for video recording and for something like this, a small camera that you're going to use for vlogging and for family photos and video, you know, not to have an ND filter built in is really a big deal. So the question is, why purchase a camera? The reason is I love the size of this camera, and I love to have a camera on my waist that I can use for family photos and for quick vlogging type videos. The size of this camera, the fact that it has a 3.5 input jack for a microphone, the fact that it has a neutral density filter, the ease of use of the camera, those are the things that really made me want to have this camera. I did own the Canon G7X Mark II for several years, and that was also a part of the reason that I wanted to have this camera. I actually sold the G7X Mark II when this one came out so that I would have some funds to purchase this camera. One thing that's also really important to me as far as having a small pocket-sized camera is the ability to take family photos. You know, I know that I can take this camera out at any moment when I feel that there's a nice picture for myself with my family, and it really does take good pictures. The autofocus does not seem to be an issue for photos. I haven't tried action photos. I'm sure it would be an issue, but for family photos, there's nothing like this, and it definitely beats a cell phone.